Okay, so this is the explanation. So I'm creating two instances of the student. So if I create the object with the student class, then I can only get the properties from the student class. So if I create the student, union student Bernardo, so then this will be the information. But if I create the instance of graduate student, so the graduate student means I use the class of graduate student, then I can get all the properties from the student. I can get all the properties from the student plus the properties in the graduate student. So that's the meaning by the inheritance. So this graduate student inherit all the properties on the student class. And we call the student class is the parent class. And then we call the student is the parent class, and the graduate student is the child class or sub class. Student is the parent class, or we call it super class. Okay. So when you run the get maximum credit on the graduate student, then it is sure. Okay. But when you use the student, when you run this one, it is error or it is not available. Okay, so that's the meaning by inheritance. The next is about encapsulation. Encapsulation means the process of binding both attributes and methods together within a class. Through encapsulation, the internal details of a class can be hidden from outside. So in the encapsulation, there are some class methods. It provides user interface to access the class services. Some of the concept of the encapsulation we can see later, the access modifiers. We can see default, public, private, and protected. And whether it is the class or it is an interface. So let's see with this encapsulation. I have a new class. Let's say the class name is a diary. Diary is a kind of something related to myself. Okay, it's a story about myself. So when I create a new diary, so I construct a new diary, and then I will create a new title. So the title, yeah, I can make it as public. So anybody can see the title of my diary. But entries, I want to make this as private. So I hope that you understand public and private. So public means you can show other people, but private you cannot show to other people. It is only inside the class. This is about the data member, and this is about the data, whether it is public or private. But we can also do with the method. So the method here, the method add entry is public. And the method last entry is private. So how to distinguish this one? So in the programmer community, they have already some kind of agreement. When you want to make the variable as public, then just make it as it is. The name is just the name. But when you want to make it as a private, you need to put underbar. So you put one underbar. Then you can see if it is a private, there will be underbar like this one. Okay, you can see this is the underbar. This is the underbar. So the underbar represent that this method or this variable is private. So whenever I want to access the data from the class, let's say I want to create a new diary and the title is don't read this. Okay, I can add the entry. Add the entry means the detail of the diary. It was a good day. Then I can just call the diary with the title. So let's see. So I can do this one. Let me make a new. So I have a class diary, and then this is the title, entries, and then I want to add the entries. It means I want to add the details by using append. And then last entry, it means I want to know the last detail of the diary that I input into my diary. So -1. You know what is -1? So let's see. I have data. Okay. Let's say just randomly. I have a data and a list. Actually, later I will teach you again, but now let's look at this small example. I have data 5, 4, 7, 3, and 8. So if I want to access the data in the index 0, the result is 5. Okay. The data in the index 0 is 5. The data in the index 1, it is 4. Okay. Now, the data in the index -1, what is it? It is the reverse. So it will be 8. It means it will start from the end. Okay. Now, what does it mean by the data in the index -2? It is 3. Okay. So this is -1. This is -2. This is -3. This is -4. This is minus. So minus represent you read the data from the end of the list. If you start from the beginning of the list, then you start from 0. Okay. Then if I want to look at the data at the end of the list, then I can just put -1. Now I can run this and let's make a new diary. So I want to check the diary. The diary title is don't read this. And then I would like to add the entry. It was a good day. So I have the diary title. The diary is called don't read this. Okay. Now, you can still access the private data and the method, but check this one. I have my diary. And then if you press the tab, what happens? You cannot see the entries. You cannot see the method plus entry. It is private. So that's the meaning by private. But but you can access it if you know the detail, although it is hidden. It means I know that there is an entry. So let's just try to access it. Then it is still available. Okay. It means if you are the author of this class, you can access it. But other people cannot read your data. Okay. So that's the meaning by the private. So when you use the tag, it is not possible to check what are the method, what are the data members in your class. But if you know it, then you can access and then like you can read the details. So if you want to check this one, then it means you need to make a method. You need to make a method so that you can see what is the detail of this one. For example, I create a new method, check entry. And then when I create this method, I want to know what is the last of the entry of your diary. Then the last will be the last entry. The last entry is this one. So if you like the method to access your data, then it will show your data. But if you do not let the method to access your data, it will keep private. Then because I want to let the method to access my data, then let me just put this one. Let me put one more. So another question. Can I run this one? Why? Python is sensitive to indentation. If you look at this one, there is a space. Okay? There is a space. There is a space. But this step is not in the good alignment with the other method. Then you cannot run this one. Even though you can run this one, but still, when you want to try my diary, then you cannot find check entry. Okay? So it did not work. So why I mentioned this one? Uh, by today, I still check on the Guru. There are only 59 students. So we have 60. So in our class, we have 64. Okay. So there are 64 students. 63명 학생인데 하지만 그룹에서 아직 59명, 59 학생. Then it means yes, you still have not registered on the group. I give you one practice, Johnson. Please do the practice in the group, and you can try. If you have a very different space in the or indentation, then group cannot run. Okay, so please practice. Because if you do wrong with this indentation at your exam, then I will give you 0. Okay. If you cannot do well in this, then it will be 0. Okay. So you need to put the correct indentation in order to run the code well. So I will check this one. If I do this one, then there will be check and read. In Jupyter Lab, it is not sensitive. Jupyter Lab is already developed well, but in Chrome, it is very sensitive. Okay. Let me show you. Okay, until now still 59 students. So I hope by today, please register. If you don't register, then yeah, you may have some difficulties. Okay. So let me just make a kind of new question. Let me just make a simple quiz. Okay. Now let me put the code in the this one. Now I will make it into this. Okay. So let's say I do like this one. If I do like this one, then let me just copy and paste this one, and then let me run. Okay. Let me run. Yeah, it works, but I cannot read this check entry. So my diary dot, yeah, there is no function but dot in this case. So you need to directly call check entry. And if you run this one, it will be errors. Okay. So what is the error? It is simple. Actually, you need to put some space. If you do not put space, then it will be error. And there is no error. Okay. So that's why please practice using Guru, because Guru is more sensitive than Jupyter. And your exam, all other things will be based on the Guru. Okay, let me just continue with this one. So whenever you do this check entry, okay, now I want to check. I want to check the entry. Then I can see, don't read this. It was a good day. So what is this one? This is the detail. This is detail in the private variable. Why? Because I put this add entry. This add entry will be saved into the entries. It will be saved into the list, and the list is private. So actually, I cannot read this one because it is private. But because I give the comment here, I give the statement access the last entry and then put into the variable last. Then it will show you the result. Don't read this, and it was good. Okay. Iterators. So iterators mean the same like loop. Okay. If you use for, you will do loop. But in the iterators, it will do step by step or one by one. So iteration is an important concept in the design of data structures. So an iterator for a collection provides one key behavior. There will be a special method named test underbar next underbar underbar. So this refers to iteration. When you have this method, it means it returns the next element of the collection, if any, or raises a stop iteration exception. What does it mean? If you have a list 5, 3, 6, 3, 8, okay. If you do the iteration, you will do the iteration at the position 0, and then the position 1, and then the position 2, and then position 3, and then position 8, and then okay. Once you stop, then you cannot do again to the next because we don't have any data. So that's another exception. We call it stop iteration. If you try to access the next data, then it will be error. So the iterator can do well to check the without giving the error. In Python, there will be a lot of iteration. There will be a lot of iterators method. So for example, range. We learn about range. So in the range, we have stop, which is no, and then we have step, which is one. Okay. If you join the computer programming, I guess you understand. Step equals to one. It means it is default value. Without defining the parameter, then Python will immediately know that the step is one. Step is null. So the initial value is nothing. But the starting, it will be always available. So if the step is 0, then show the end. If the stop is done, then the start will be 0 and the stop will equal to start. That's why you can see if you use the range, okay, if you use range for I in range 5, range I, for them 5 is one number, then 5 will be the stopping number. So you can see the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you want to make it, and okay, if you want to print in the horizontal, like so. So you have the start, then you have the step, and you have the stop. So what is length? So you can see here, length is private. Why? Because we use underbar length. You can see underbar length. So the conclusion is maximum of 0 or stop minus the start plus step minus 1 divided with the integer division of step. Okay, so this is just the default formula to indicate how big is the length of your range. And then let the start be the start number and let the step be the step number as your definition. And then for the length, okay, we also have the underbar length. This is also the basic method to indicate how big is the length of your range or how big is the length of your range. And then get item. This is also another data structure that we will take a look. There will be a lot of get item to get the item of a particular class. So you can see if k is less than 0, then you can put with the length of the sub. If k is in between, if k is not in between 0 and the length, then it is index of range. It means if I have the data 5, 2, 3, then the index will be 0, 1, 2. So if the index is in between 0 and the length is 3, and the starting is 0. So if the k is not in between this one, then error. The error message is index of. Okay. And we will get the item by using the start plus k multiplied by the step. That's why you can see if I do something like this one, if I have for I in range 1 comma let's say 2 comma 8, then it means I would like to print any number between 2 until 8. So I will print any number from 2 until 8 minus 1. If I have another range or I in range 2 comma 8, let's say comma 9 comma 2, then it means I want to print the numbers with the step 2. Oh, sorry. Print I n equals to this. Then I will print 2, 4, 6, 8. So the step not equals to 1, but now the step equals to 2. So we will learn more about this one on the array section. Okay, the last example from the book is about numerical progression. It is a sequence number where each number depends on one or more of the previous numbers. So there are three kinds of progression calculation. Okay, we call the superclass. Okay. We call this is the superclass. The superclass is the class name progression, and we have the subclass. So the subclass is the implementation of the class progression. In the progression, there are three kinds of progression. We call it arithmetic progression, geometric progression, and Fibonacci progression. So for the arithmetic progression, it means we can determine the next number by adding a fixed constant to the previous value. So for example, 1, 2, 3. Then if I put 1, 2, 3, then I can know the next number will be 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on. But if I have the addition with a fixed constant, let's say I'm going to do the addition plus 2, then the number will be 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, and so on, because it is plus 2. So the adding means plus. Okay. The geometric progression means that means the next number by multiplying. Multiply. So we want to multiply the previous value by a fixed constant. So I have 1. 1 and I have the default multiply by 2. And 1 multiplied by 2, it is 2. 2 multiplied by 2, it is 4. 4 multiplied by 2, it is 8. 8 multiplied by 2, it is 16. 16 multiplied by 2, 32. And so we call this is geometric progression. And the last one is the Fibonacci progression. The Fibonacci progression means we want to check the next number based on the last two numbers. So 2 is the result from 1 plus 1. 3 is the result is from 1 plus 2. 5 is the result from 2 plus 2. 8 is the result of 3 plus 5. So the formula will be ni plus 1 equals to ni plus ni minus 1. So we got this is the Fibonacci progression. And all of the values, they have a kind of pattern. Okay? The pattern we can put in the progression, but the detailed calculation, it will be based on every different progression. Now let's check. The class progression. In the class progression, we have the constructor. It will start from 0. And the current means the current value, it is based on the starting value. Start 0, it means if no definition from the users, it will start from 0. If the user define a number, then let's use that number. Advance. So advance, it means we want to update the current value into a new value. So if there is nothing definition, then it will be plus 1. Next. Next means I want to check what is the current value. If the current is known, then okay, you can see race. You still remember race? Race means I want to give the error message. If it is error, then using the error message from the stop iteration. Otherwise, the answer will be the current numbers. Advance. Advance means I go to the next number and then show the answer. Iter. So it is one of the iteration function, as I mentioned to you. Iter is a built-in iteration. So we will go to the iteration of the next number until it finishes. And then we want to print the progression. To print progression means I want to see the result until n. So n means the value that you input. So it is the string for every numbers that you put as the input. So we have the arithmetic progression. The arithmetic progression is the addition. Addition means plus. So the constructor, it will use the increment equals to 1. So this is the default value. If the user do not specify any value, it starts from 1. And the thing will be from 0. Increment, the fixed constant to add to its term, default is 1. And the first term for progression, default is 0. Now you can see super. What does it mean? Super. Then we need to check what is the super class of this. Okay, this class name is arithmetic progression, and the super class is progression. Then this class will get all the properties from the progression class. What is the progression class? This is the progression. And then we have the increment. So the increment will be based on this one. Advance, we go to the next number. The next number will be the current plus the increment. So we call this is override the inherited function because in the superclass, the advance is based on the plus 1. But in the arithmetic, it will be based on the value that you define. If the increment is 1, then it will be added by 1. If you put 2, then it will be added by 2. If you put 3, it will be added by 3. Geometric progression. Again, this refers to the superclass, or we call this inherit from progression. Now we have base equals to 2 and start equals to 1. We know that for a multiplication for value, if any value multiplied by 0, then 0. Okay, so we need to start from 1. And then every number which is multiplied by 1, it will be the same with that number. So in order to avoid this one, let's make the base equal to 2. Again, we call the superclass, which is the progression. So we want to get all the properties from the progression class, and we start. And the base is the base. For the advance, or for the next number, it is the current multiplied by the base. And the last one is the Fibonacci. The Fibonacci, we need to know what is the first number and what is the second number. Again, this is inherited from the progression class, so we call it SHIP class for the progression, because all the properties from the progression will be going to this class. The first will be the starting point, and then the previous refers to the second minus the first. And if you want to go to the next stage, it means I want to know what is the previous, which is the current, and the current means the previous plus the current. So this is the formula, ni plus 1, it equals to the ni plus ni minus 1. So the previous means this one, the current means this one, and the ni plus 1, it means the new current. Okay. Okay, let's see how the code works. I give you the code in the, yeah, this is the progression. It's a little bit long. Okay, let me just copy and paste to make it easy in the Jupyter Lab. So the first class is progression. So we want to construct, and we have the advance, we have the next value, and then we have the iteration, iterators, and then print progression. So we want to print the result. The second class is arithmetic progression. The arithmetic progression means, yeah, this is the class we want to inherit from the superclass. This is the subclass we want to inherit from the superclass. This is the subclass we want to inherit from the superclass. So it means all the class can be in one section in the Jupyter Lab. Okay, what is this? This is the main method. So if we call the function, then it will run. But let me just run in this Jupyter Lab. The default progression is progression dot print progression. And what is it? Okay, let me just close this one first. Then the default progression is 0, 1, 2, 3 until 9. Okay, this is the default. Now let's see. After the default, we have the arithmetic progression. The arithmetic progression will increment 5. So the default of arithmetic progression is The increment default is 1. So the next value will be added by 1. The next value will be added by 1. But now I want to change the arithmetic progression. Let's make it with the increment 5. So I change with 5. So you can check if I have nothing, arithmetic progression and progression 10. Oh, okay. So if you put nothing in the bracket, then it will be based on the default value 1. If you put 5, then it will change the value with 5. So the next number will be added by 5. The next number will be added by 5. If you change with 3, then the next number will be added with 3. The next number will be added with 3. Okay. So we can also have other combination. Okay. For example, the arithmetic progression, I have 5 and 2. So the increment is 5 and then starts with 2. Then the value start with 2 and then every numbers will be added with 5. So the next number is 7. The next number is 12. The next number is 17. The next number is 22 and so on. The geometric progression is the multiplication. If it is the base, then just multiply with 2. So 1 multiplied by 2 is 2. 2 multiplied by 2 is 4. 4 multiplied by 8, 2 is 8. 8 multiplied by 2 is 16 and so on. If I change the number into 3, then it means I want to multiply with 3. So 1 multiplied by 3, 3. 3 multiplied by 3, 9. 9 multiplied by 3, 27. And so on. And the last one is the Fibonacci. So if Fibonacci start from 0 and 1, then this is the number. Now, if I need to change, the Fibonacci start from 4 and 6. Then if it is from 4 and 6, then the next number will be 10. The next number will be 6 plus 10. The next number will be 10 plus 16 and so on. Okay. So this is the code for the progression. Okay, I will do the algorithm analysis on the next class on Monday. So before we finish the class,